Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're headed to London to check out Tip Top Trading.
Oh, Tip Top Trading.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're proving that you can be a leader in any market, really,
Interesting.
even the most unexpected ones.
Okay.
This company is at the top of their game when it comes to imitation plastic fruit,
Wow.
and we've got some really fascinating inside info about this company.
Okay, like what?
Well, we've got interview snippets,
Oh,
overheard conversations,
mhm.
even a glimpse into a day of utter chaos at the company.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Oh, you could say that.
Okay.
But it's also a masterclass in communication, the good, the bad, and, well, let's just say there's plenty to learn from.
I'm intrigued. Let's dive in.
All right, so first up, we meet Anna, a bright and eager candidate who's interviewing for a sales executive position at Tip Top Trading.
Sales executive. Okay.
She's sitting down with Paul, the manager, and from the get-go, she makes a great first impression.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, she highlights her extensive sales background
That makes sense.
and her ability to build rapport, which is, crucial in any sales role. But what really stands out is her enthusiasm.
Her enthusiasm for plastic fruit.
Well, for the company's unique market position, imitation plastic fruit isn't exactly,
Not exactly a glamorous industry.
no, not the first thing that comes to mind when you think of a booming business.
Right.
But here's where things get interesting. Paul actually agrees with Anna. He emphasizes that Tip Top Trading is the fastest growing company in the imitation plastic fruit sector.
In London.
In London, yes. He seems pretty proud of that fact.
So, I'm picking up on a bit of a theme here.
Oh,
It seems like Paul might be a bit fixated on being, you know,
like a big fish in a small pond.
yeah, exactly. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing,
Sure.
but it can sometimes overshadow other important aspects of leadership,
Like what?
like fostering a supportive and communicative team environment, things that help a company thrive.
And that leads us perfectly into our next scene where Paul's leadership is put to the test. Yeah. It's a full-blown crisis involving some major order mix-ups.
Oh, no. What happened?
We're talking purple bananas instead of yellow, pineapples being sent out when customers ordered grapefruits.
Wow.
It's a real mess.
a colorful mess.
Literally.
Oof. This is a classic example of how miscommunication can really impact a company.
Oh, absolutely.
It affects everything.
Oh.
Customer satisfaction,
Employee morale.
the whole 9 yards.
And Paul's reaction is quite telling.
How so?
He immediately confronts Tom, one of the salespeople.
Oh, boy.
His frustration is palpable.
Yeah, I bet.
He even mentions this particularly disgruntled client, Mrs. Kumquat.
Mrs. Kumquat.
Yeah, apparently she left the office even angrier than when she arrived.
Yikes. That's not good for business.
Not at all.
This highlights the importance of understanding different communication styles.
Especially in high-stress situations.
Right, because Paul's direct, almost confrontational approach,
It's not exactly helpful.
no, it might even escalate the situation, particularly for someone like Tom.
Well, and Tom's already struggling with stress and time management.
Oh, we're going to talk about Tom.
Oh, yeah. We
Okay.
get a glimpse into his day, and it's complete chaos.
I can't wait to hear about this.
He's on a client call, his computer crashes, his phone goes missing, and somehow 2 major meetings get booked at the same time. It's a disaster.
It sounds like he could really use some support.
Right, and this is where empathy comes in. Instead of just blaming Tom, it's important to try to understand what's contributing to his struggles.
I agree. Is it a personal organization issue, or are there deeper problems at play here?
Exactly, and it makes me wonder about the rest of the team.
Oh, yeah, like how are they handling all of this?
Well, and speaking of the team, we haven't even met Denise yet.
Denise?
She's the assistant, and let's just say she's the glue holding this whole operation together.
Oh, she's the unsung hero.
She is. She's making tea for Paul, putting out fires, juggling schedules, you name it.
Sounds like she has her hands full.
Definitely. But even Denise has her limits. We hear her muttering under her breath, feeling overworked and underappreciated.
Oh, no, what does she say?
She even compares herself to a machine at one point.
Oh, that's rough. This really highlights how important it is to recognize and value everyone's contributions,
Absolutely.
no matter their role or position.
Right. So we've got Anna, the eager newcomer who sees opportunity even in plastic fruit.
Right?
Paul, the results-driven manager who might need a crash course in empathy.
Yeah.
Tom, who's juggling way too much.
Poor Tom.
And Denise, the unsung hero, keeping everything afloat.
Quite the crew.
It's fascinating to see how their communication styles are shaping the dynamics at Tip Top Trading, and we're just getting started.
This is shaping up to be a very interesting deep dive. I can't wait to see what communication patterns we uncover and what we can learn from them.
Me too, and that's exactly what we'll be exploring in the rest of this deep dive.
Excellent. I'm ready when you are. It's amazing how all these little communication issues at Tip Top Trading are actually kind of like bigger patterns we see everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe we should look at some communication models to help us unpack this.
Okay, sounds good. Where should we start?
Well, there's this concept called transactional analysis.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
It suggests that our communication comes from different ego states, the parent, the adult, and the child.
Oh, right, right. Can you remind me what those mean again?
Sure, think of the parent as like the voice of authority.
Okay,
Often it's either critical or nurturing, you know.
right.
Then you've got the adult, which is the rational problem-solving part of us.
Mm-hmm.
And the child is all about emotions and spontaneity.
Okay, got it.
And a lot of times communication breaks down because people are operating from these different states.
So, like, with Paul's reaction to the order mix-up,
Yeah.
it sounds like he was coming from his parent ego state, right?
Exactly. He was kind of reprimanding Tom like a child.
Yeah,
And that probably just triggered a defensive child response in Tom.
makes sense.
And that makes it almost impossible to have a productive conversation, you know.
Right.
Now imagine if Paul had, approached it from his adult state,
Okay.
focusing on problem solving and working together.
Yeah.
The whole thing could have gone way differently.
It's like they're speaking different languages almost.
It kind of is, yeah.
And I guess there are ways to, like, become more aware of our own ego states.
Absolutely. Self-awareness is so key.
So how do we do that?
Well, one technique is to just, pause before reacting in those kind of heated moments.
Okay.
And just ask yourself, which ego state am I coming from right now?
I like that. Just take a breath.
Yeah, that moment of reflection can really help you choose a better way to communicate.
So we've got transactional analysis that helps us understand why we communicate the way we do.
Right.
What other tools can we use?
Well, there's this really powerful concept called active listening.
Okay. Tell me about that.
It's not just hearing the words, but really understanding the message. It involves, paying attention to their body language, asking questions to make sure you understand,
Okay.
and even repeating back what you heard.
So it's about going deeper and really trying to see things from their perspective.
Exactly. Remember Denise?
The assistant.
Yeah, what if instead of just giving her orders, Paul actually listened to her concerns?
I bet she'd feel a lot more appreciated.
Right. And he might even learn something about how to improve things for the whole team.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Exactly. And here's another great one. Nonviolent communication, or a VC.
NVC. Okay, what's that?
It's all about expressing your needs and feelings without, blaming or judging.
So instead of saying, you're always late and it's so disrespectful.
Right, which just makes people defensive.
Yeah.
You could try saying something like, when you're late, I feel worried and frustrated because we need to start on time.
That sounds a lot better.
It shifts the focus to your own feelings instead of attacking them.
Much less confrontational.
Yeah, it opens up a dialogue.
Wow, this is great. So we've got transactional analysis to understand communication styles, active listening to really hear each other, and NVC to express ourselves honestly and with empathy.
You got it. Oh, and don't forget about clear and concise communication.
Oh, right. Like just being straightforward.
Yeah. Using specific language, avoiding jargon.
And making sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Think about those order mix-ups. Maybe clear communication could have prevented the whole thing.
It's so true. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best.
Absolutely. But how do we actually put all this into practice?
Yeah, it's one thing to know about these theories,
Yeah.
but it's another to actually use them in real life.
Well, that's where the rubber meets the road, right? It takes practice and, being willing to try new things.
And probably a lot of patience,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
because changing how you communicate doesn't happen overnight.
No, it's a journey. But even small changes can make a big difference.
Okay, so we've explored all these great communication models, transactional analysis, active listening, nonviolent communication. But now comes the hard part, actually using them. It's one thing to have the tools, it's another to know how to use them.
Exactly. It's great to understand it all, but you got to actually integrate it.
Yeah.
And that takes work.
Totally. So let's say you're in Paul's shoes, right?
Yeah.
You've got a communication breakdown. What's step one?
Honestly, awareness is key in those moments.
Yeah.
Just take a breath, pause for a second, and think about what's going on inside you. What ego state are you in?
Right.
Are you coming from that defensive child place, or can you kind of tap into your adult and be more, objective and calm?
That pause can make all the difference, I bet.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
It gives you a chance to choose how you react instead of just going on autopilot.
Yeah.
And once you've got that space, you can start using those active listening skills, Really pay attention, not just to their words, but their body language too.
Right.
Ask questions. Make sure you really get their perspective.
And I guess that's where empathy comes in, right? Trying to see it from their side, even if you don't agree.
Exactly. Empathy's huge. It helps us connect even when things are tough. And it's not about saying what they're doing is okay,
Right.
but trying to understand why they might be doing it.
This makes me think about Tom and all that chaos.
Yeah.
What if Paul had really listened to him with empathy?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they could have figured out what was causing those mix-ups and worked together to fix it.
Totally. Maybe Tom needed more training, better systems, or just more support,
Right, right. And what about Denise, working so hard behind the scenes?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine if Paul had just, said thank you and listened to her concerns.
That could have made a huge difference for her.
Huge. It would have made her feel valued, part of the team. And who knows, maybe she had ideas to improve things.
It's amazing how these little communication tweaks can change everything.
Yeah, and it all starts with that choice, that pause to become aware and try a different approach.
And it's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. We're all learning as we go. We'll mess up sometimes, but the key is to learn from it and keep practicing.
So for our listeners, what's one thing they can do today to start improving their communication?
Start paying attention to how you communicate. Like, how do you usually react in different situations? Are you quick to judge? Do you cut people off? Are you really listening or just waiting to talk?
That's such a good place to start, just noticing our habits.
Yep. And once you see those habits, you can start trying new things. Use I statements, practice reflecting what you hear, and don't be afraid to apologize when you mess up.
This deep dive has been so insightful. Who knew plastic fruit could teach us so much about communication?
I know, right? But it just goes to show these principles apply everywhere. Work, family, everywhere.
So to our listeners, take these insights and use them. Remember, communication's a journey, not a destination. Embrace the challenges, enjoy the wins, and never stop learning. Until next time, happy communicating.